Hi and welcome to this episode of Kapow with Pitu. Picture this. Imagine you're a stray cat in Mumbai and you've had a very eventful morning. You went to the fish market and you stole a couple pomfrets. Maybe you went and harassed a flock of pigeons. Maybe you went and scratched your nails on some unsuspecting rickshawala's vinyl bench. And now after a very busy morning, you're getting ready to take a nice little nap. So you find a wonderful sunny corner on a brick wall and you curl up, you take a little bit of a shower and you're getting ready to take a nap. And you're doing this and suddenly out of nowhere you hear a sound that goes Maudi! Wait, what? What was that? That, my friends, was Pitu's grandfather, my beloved Azoba, who was a bona fide cat lady. So I'm very much a bona fide cat lady as well, but I definitely get it from my grandpa because he absolutely adored cats. Like, he could not resist them. Not only did he have pet cats of his own, but when we would go for walks, I would be this very zoned out child that wasn't really paying attention to anything. I always lived in my own head, and he was very alert. He knew what was happening around him. He was paying attention. So he would be wearing his silk dhoti and his silk kurta and his umbrella, and we would be walking along, and suddenly out of nowhere he would pull me out of the lane or wherever we were, and he would drag me to some random corner where there's like a tree or a brick wall or a rickshaw or something random like that, because he would have spotted a cat. And my grandfather had an unfailing radar for cats. If he saw a cat, he was going to go and say hi to that cat, god damn it. Now, the thing about my grandfather was that he was deaf, and he, being very stubborn, he used to refuse to wear his hearing aid. So he basically used to go around shouting at the top of his lungs because he just didn't understand how loud his volume was. So we would be standing in the middle of the street and he would be waxing lyrical about some random cat. Like, there's this scrawny little black and white cat sitting on some brick wall looking at him like, hey, what do you want? And my Azoba would be like, काय मस्त मिशा आहेत, मोठ्या मोठ्या मिशा, बघ बघ किती छान मिशा आहेत, and I would be like, yeah, they're very nice. Azoba, look, it has a pink nose. And you're like, mag gulabi naak, wah wah. And the cat would be like, hey, what do you want? The poor thing would get so traumatized, so terrified, it would just scurry away. It would run, and my grandfather would be like, why is it running away from me? And I'd be like, why did the cat run away from us? In fact, there were times that a bit of a crowd would gather around us, because think about it, there's this old traditional looking man in a dhoti kurta, there's a small child, and you see them in some corner of some lane and they look like they're talking to nobody in particular, because it never occurs to people that someone would be having a conversation with a cat, because normal people don't have conversations with cats. So they would be like, maybe this old man is confused, or maybe he's got Alzheimer's or something. So these nice people would come up to him and they would be like, Azoba, haravlat ka? Tumhala ghari pochvu ka? Are you lost? Should we take you to your house or something? My grandfather would be like, nahi, मी इथेच राहतो, मी ठीक आहे, I'm fine, you can go. And they would leave and they would mutter to themselves, what are these weird people doing? But this was a very regular occurrence with my grandfather. He would always point out cats to me. He would always go over to cats. When we would go to the fish market to buy fish for his own pets, he would always spend a little bit extra money and ask the fishmongers to, keep a little bit of fish aside for the stray cats that used to be loitering around. And in his own home, he had kittens, and we always had fun with them. One year, my parents bought my grandfather Nigerian corals. So Nigerian corals are very expensive and they're very beautiful, and they bought him corals in the form of a prayer bead, like a japmala. And my grandpa, I remember one morning, I was at the dining table having my morning milk. My dad was in a corner reading the newspaper, and my grandfather was sitting in his favorite armchair and he was doing his jap. And unbeknownst to him, his kitten Pinky, was under the chair, and you could see she was watching the japmala as it swung back and forth, and she was just following it with her eyes, and she had this very mischievous gleam in them. Now, I knew exactly what was going on because I'm watching what's happening. This is my grandpa, there's a kitten underneath, and there's this tantalizing japmala, and my dad was lost in his paper. I don't know where my mom and my granny were. And as expected, the kitten got ready to pounce. So the kitten's doing that thing, and then boom, it pounced bounced on the japmala, and of course the japmala tore, because guess what, there's a kitten dangling on the japmala, so it broke. My dad immediately sprung into action, and he's like racing around the living room trying to gather up all the corals that have been, broken. My mom and my grandmother came rushing out, and basically there are 4 members of the family on their hands and knees trying to gather up all the corals before they like get, destroyed, or they like roll out of the window or the balcony or whatever. Meanwhile, my grandfather is sitting in his armchair. He's held Pinky close to him, and he's like praising her and going, "Kitti naughty hai ga Pinky, asं केलं, जब्बाळा तोडली माझी जब्बाळा तोडली, असं केलं." And my dad was so upset. He looks at my grandfather and goes, "What are you cuddling that cat for? She just broke this japmala. Don't you see we're trying to gather up the corals?" And my grandfather was saying to my father, "Look how cute she is. What a naughty kitten. So mischievous. Broke my japmala." And that naughty kitten, literally, she was glancing at my grandfather's scriptures, like, looking at the stotras, like, I'm going to chew that the first second I get going to rip it to shreds. I'm sure even if she had shredded his stotras, he would have been perfectly fine with that, because that's just the kind of person he was. And I think my future was basically set in stone. You can't be his granddaughter and not be completely cat obsessed. So people who wonder why I am as cat obsessed as I am, I have no choice. My grandfather was a cat lady. My dad was a cat lady. My mother is a cat lady. I have been surrounded by cat ladies my entire life. My fate was sealed. I was always going to become a cat lady. And I think about my grandfather a lot these days. I miss him a lot because I was very attached to him, and I think about him very often. But the thing I really miss the most about him was how childlike he was. He had a lot of joie de vivre. He was a lot of fun. He always had a smile on his face. He delighted in the absurd. He was not like a serious, judgmental person at all. He was actually a really funny, vivacious character. He was what you call a character. He was like a little bit of an eccentric person. And I honestly think that the world needs more of those. Like, the world needs more people who have the ability to just turn on the charm, turn on the sunshine, and just have a smile on their face. If you were close to your grandparents, or if you have any stories about your grandparents you want to share, or if you are a cat lady or you want to share something, then let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment and share. And I will see you next week with another episode of Kapow with Pitu. In the meantime, if you want to go and befriend cats, go ahead. But just remember one thing: if you want to actually befriend a cat, it's not a good idea to go rushing up to them and go psst. That generally doesn't go over well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week on Kapow with Pitu.